So, let's consider where ECTS credits can be applied. You can see we have some pictures here of people at work. We have a laboratory setting with people looking down microscopes. We have a setting where I assume it's the student and not the lecturer giving a presentation. And we also have some students from a catering establishment preparing food. These are very different types of educational activities. So ECTS can be applied to all types of programs, whatever their mode of delivery, whether it's school-based, work-based, whether the learners are full-time or part-time, and to all kinds of learning, whether it be formal, non-formal, or informal. By formal, I would take the laboratory-based setting. By non-formal, I would consider that to be a short course, perhaps undertaken by someone who's qualified within their workplace, which at the present time may not have any formal assessment. And informal teaching can be recreational activities. All of these activities can be brought into the university setting and repackaged to apply ECTS credits to them to ensure that all learners are able to enjoy their academic achievements. So, if a student comes back to university or is within university either as an undergraduate or a postgraduate, they need to complete 60 ECT credits per academic year for full-time study. As one ECTS credit corresponds to between 25 and 30 hours of work, 1 year at university is equivalent to 1,500 and 1,800 hours of work. That all sounds terribly theoretical at present, doesn't it? If we look at how this is actually applied in practice, we have the first two Bologna cycles on our screen here. If we consider a bachelor's degree, this is the first cycle of what we call the European Qualifications Framework, EQF. And it includes between 3 and 4 years of study, depending on the university and country you're actually working in. Here in the UK, we typically have 3-year degrees in England and 4-year degrees in Scotland, so even within one country it can vary considerably. And so, as 1 year provides 60 ECTS credits, 3 to 4 years is equivalent to 180 to 240 ECTS credits. The second cycle is what we regard as being postgraduate study, the first stage of postgraduate study, and we're looking here at level 7 of the EQF framework, equivalent to a master's degree. Now, the length of a master's degree does vary. We require students to gain a minimum of 60 ECTS credits, and typically this may be up to 120 ECTS credits, depending on the format of the master's degree. Okay, so can we transfer ECTS credits from one university to another? Yes, of course we can. This is intended to be a very flexible system. Successful credit transfer requires academic recognition of credits. And so, again, what do we mean by academic recognition? Well, this implies that ECTS credits awarded in one programme of study may be transferred to another programme if offered by the same institution or another HEI with a similar programme. Given the diversity of programmes and HEIs, it's unlikely that the credits and learning of modules in one HEI will be identical to another. That's taken for granted. So we do need to have a flexible approach that allows recognition of credits obtained in another context. So we are aiming for fair recognition between university programs. This is where the learning outcomes become extremely helpful, because fair recognition should be based on a comparison of the learning outcomes, i.e., for example, what a person knows and is able to do. And so the learning outcomes of the two modules should be compared, and then, if they are equivalent, the new institution can award the credit. This is better than comparing simply the formal teaching involved. And so, fair recognition rather than perfect equivalence is what we are seeking. We also recognise that in practice, 4 credits awarded in one institution may be equivalent to 5 credits awarded in another institution, and that is okay too. And so it is a very flexible system. Thanks to the application of ECTS by the vast majority of European universities, students can now easily transfer their credit and continue their education in other countries of the European Union, and may also be able to transfer their learning to countries such as the USA, Canada, New Zealand, and even Australia. So, moving on, how do ECTS credits and lifelong learning blend? Well, people often possess valuable competencies acquired outside of universities through work, life experience, informal recreation, and other non-formal types of learning activities, such as non-assessed short courses, as we mentioned earlier, or maybe perhaps even hobbies where they've gained a lot of experience. Learning outcomes in other learning contexts should be awarded the same number of credit as would be awarded on an equivalent formal programme, providing the appropriate assessment is followed. Non-traditional learners should also benefit from the transparency and recognition which institutions can provide by using ECTS. As an example, we have previous experience in working as a cook could be awarded the same ECTS as a person who's been on a formal course about gastrostomy and cooking skills. Now, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, how can that be? How can we do that? Well, it does require, within the university setting, that the informal learning is assessed and to ensure that the students are able to meet the learning outcomes of the credit-rated module of teaching, of learning. And this may be done through formal assessment, such as essays, or validation of the learning outcomes of the activity. I'm sure that different universities across Europe have different ways of doing this at the present time. We certainly have a system that we call the APEL process in our university here in Plymouth University, and that's called Accreditation of Prior Experiential Learning. And we use this, we ask our students to submit a portfolio of evidence that gives their background, plus any previous qualifications and any courses they've attended, and we compare the learning outcomes from their informal education to the formal learning outcomes of our modules of teaching, and if we feel that they've reached an equivalent standard, then we can award our credit. Sometimes we ask people to undertake an unofficial piece of assessment to supplement their experiential learning. So different universities will do this in different ways, but within the ECTS program process, we encourage this very much so. So therefore, by recognising non-formal and informal learning, the social dimensions of higher education institutes is strengthened. We're able to reach out and embrace a wider array of different types of people from different backgrounds within HEIs. HEIs facilitate access to learners already engaged in professional life also, and a range of non-traditional learning environments. Thus, we can truly contribute to making lifelong learning a reality for a wide range of people with some imagination and commitment to the